Number 4, we just talked about people liking structure and guidance, but guys, people will sink if they have too much structure and guidance. Again, guys, this goes back to the micromanagement idea. What you need to do is to build your team up to take an individual ownership over their day-to-day in a way that meets their larger goals. But if you jump in and micromanage their processes, you're just inhibiting that empowerment to occur. And guys, this is true even if your staff is coming to you asking you for specific feedback and direction. Again, they're going to look for that structure and guidance when they feel like they need it, but that's also an opportunity for you to empower them and say, well, what do you think we should do? Wait for them to answer and then guide them to specifics by asking them questions and letting them come to their own conclusion. And then just say, you know what, that sounds great. So you've given them structure, you've given them guidance, but you're also pushing them to take on more on their own. This is the difference between telling and teaching. Okay, telling gets you instant gratification, it gets you a short-term result. Teaching sets you up for long-term success. Now, when I teach managers this for the first time, a lot of times I'll get pushback and people will say, well, Carlin, I don't have time for that. Well, I'm sorry, but you don't have time not to. Because again, what you're going for here is a long-term result. Not teaching them might save you 5 minutes in the short term. And let's be honest, we always have an extra 5 minutes that we can give to the people reporting to us, but it doesn't set you up for time savings in the long term when they're starting to take things over and they don't even need to come to you anymore. And oh my God, now you've taught them so they have better ideas than you had ever dreamed of. So yes, short term it might seem like this is too much time, too much effort, more than you have the ability to do. But when you zoom out and you look at the big picture, you can't afford not to teach your people. Okay? And I'll tell you what, guys, most of the time thing is just an excuse. Because the real thing that gets people to not want to empower their team is because it requires giving up control. And that is an exercise in trust. And inherently, a lot of times, we default to distrusting our people. Okay, we're going to talk more about why that is in a little bit, but for right now, just understand that you have to give up control in order to empower other people. In order to empower your team. Okay, in order to get the most out of them, in order to motivate them, drive engagement, drive results, all those things, you have to empower them. And this is incredibly scary for a lot of people. But if you don't give your team room to grow, they will never, ever, 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 ever develop the professional skills you need them to develop in order to delegate work down to them. And delegation is part of your job as a manager. For any number of reasons, it saves the organization money, it provides more hands, it provides for succession planning. I could go on and on and on, but that's part of your responsibility. And yes, guys, guess what? When you give up that control, sometimes they're going to fail. Sometimes they're not going to hit the mark, but that's okay. I'm willing to bet that very few of you that listen to this recording work in a life and death situation. Unless you are a medical professional or you work in the military in a war zone, you probably do not work in a life and death situation. And what that means is you have the luxury of being able to fail and learn from that experience in an environment that is reasonably low risk. Okay, because really, guys, at the end of the day, the only real failure is one that we don't learn from. And as a manager, you can even set your people up. Give them experiences to learn from that are super low risk, that are very small things that they can learn on and build from, get their sea legs under them, and then work their way up to more responsibility. You don't have to give them the giant cross-organizational, super high-profile project right off the bat. Give them a small component. Let them succeed at that, then give them another one, then give them another one. Build them up to that big project so that they feel confident and empowered and know they can do it, and you feel confident that they've shown they can do all the pieces and they're probably not going to fail. Okay, but the worst thing you can do is to keep a really tight grip on it, because you're just showing them every single day that they don't need to mentally show up to work. They're just going to come in and do what they're told. And that is the last thing we want. I saw this great talk from Gary Hamel at the Work Human Conference in 2016. And guys, he put up this great pyramid. And it's a take on Maslow's pyramid, right? We've all seen Maslow's pyramid of human needs that starts off with we need food and shelter and sex, and we need to have our physical needs fulfilled before we get to our self-actualization, internal needs, all that stuff. We all saw it in Psychology 101. If you didn't see it, Google it. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But what Gary Hamel did is he took this and he applied it to the workplace. Okay, so in our first level in the workplace, we've got obedience, and then after that, we've got diligence, and then we've got competence. But if you only get your employees up through those first 3 levels, you're not taking full advantage of everything they have to offer, and that's what empowering does to them. Okay, empowering them, letting go of that control, letting them take on more, gets them to initiative, it gets them to imagination, it gets them to passion. And that's when you really get to the good stuff. Okay, it takes a lot of work to get there. It is literally climbing a mountain. But once you're there, oh man, that is when their productivity is going to start shooting through the roof. So that's your goal